Hi, it's Karen from Black Swan Journals, and today I'd like to share with you my process on how I choose and fussy cut my flowers and arrange them in a flower arrangement or a potted arrangement. I recently did a video which included some ephemera where I had something similar like this, and I mentioned if anyone would like to see how to make it and how I arrange, please leave a comment. And somebody did ask, so this is for you and anyone else who would like to see. So I used to own a flower shop, and I now am a professional gardener, and I'm trying to transition over into playing with paper for you on YouTube. So I just can't get arranging flowers out of my system. So I'm doing it with paper as well. So what I do is I choose my vessel first, my urn or my pot or a vase or whatever it is that I'm going to use, like a fence piece, whatever. And I find those, locate those. You can use magazines. You can use things you've picked up along the way, like ephemera, booklets you've gotten, from museums or a play or anywhere you've collected things in your walk of life or mail that's been delivered to you. Sometimes you can find the prettiest things on mail, or if you're in stores and they have brochures and at the counter, and just grab one, take it home and fussy cut it. But I happened to use the Graphics Fairies digitals to do mine. And so what I think about when I look for my pieces, my flowers and my containers, is I think about round flowers like I'm showing you here. I think about tall flowers, lateral flowers. I think about flowers that spill down. I think about foliage. And you want to get all types of these. You want to get different varieties like I'm mentioning so that you have different shapes and forms to play with. And these I like to call roundy moundies. They're just like, a rose or a peony or something super round, or that white anemone there in the center. And they're really pretty. So if you want to be to scale, that's probably another video. Some things are to scale in this arrangement, but really nothing is. So it's really just whimsical and fun and playing with paper. And it reminds me of playing with color forms, if you are old enough to know about those from the 70s. I used to love color forms, and this is just like that. So we could create a scene. I was thinking of doing another video where we actually create a whole scene, like a lady and a garden gate and all types of things, trees in the background. We can create a whole scene. But so here, these are some things I found on the Graphics Fairy for my containers, and I decided to do urns, like Victorian urns. And here I'm showing you, if you're working with digitals, you have the luxury of changing the size. Usually, unless it's a vector, usually you can go smaller and maybe a little bigger, but if it's a vector, you can do whatever you want. But if it's not, usually smaller is just fine to resize. But sometimes when you go bigger, it distorts the image. So anyhow, but not if it's a vector. So anyhow, cut different sizes and give yourself some options to play with, and it makes it so fun. And then you have other pieces that, the ones you've rejected, you have others left over for other projects. So I did some pre-arranging and got the basic shape that I would like to accomplish in the end. But we're going to dismantle it together, and I'm going to show you two different ways. Well, I'm going to show you one way, but explain two different ways you can dismantle this and glue it down without forgetting how the heck you put it down and you loved it so much. Because, if you think you can remember, it's really hard. It really is. So anyway, what I did here is I started with a 12 by 12 piece of paper simply because I wanted it to be really large for you and easier for you to see. You know, unless you're putting this in a scrapbook or on, you know, maybe in a shadow box, you know, on the wall, you'd want to scale it down. And well, here's one way that you can remember your arrangement is take a photo and set it aside. And that's the way we're going to do together today. But here's another way, and this is something I learned back in my card making days. You don't have to use this brand. There probably are other brands that do a similar trick, but this product here, it's sticky on one side, tacky, not real sticky, just tacky, and then the other side is not. It's just, you know, normal plastic. So what you can do is say this arrangement here that you've, you know, sort of dry fitted on your paper. You want to get it perfect. Say this one was perfect and it's exactly how you'd like it to be, glued down on your paper. You love it, you're married to it. It's a go. So you would take this type of product and you will lay it down on the paper, and all your little pieces you've arranged, that's the sticky part I'm showing you. Sticky part down, gently. You don't want to move things around. And then you would press it all down really well with your hands. And then there will be some pieces underneath that probably won't stick because they're not touching, you know, the press and seal product, but that's okay. So anyways, and then you lift it up. And then again, you just have to be sure it's exactly how you would want it permanently on your substrate. And then you lift it up and you would glue it right then and there on the back of that paper. On the back of that plastic, the press and seal. You'd put all your glue down right there. And then you put it right back down over your substrate, and you can see through the press and seal, and so you can orient it exactly where you want it, and it's super easy. But today in case you don't have this product, I just wanted to show you how to do it by hand. So I'm going to remove them all. And anyways, mine wasn't the way I wanted it perfectly. I just sort of like, you know, had a rough draft there. So you peel them all off, and now I'm going to show you how I put them all into categories on my table. So I start sorting them into piles, and do what makes sense to you, but I'm going to share with you what makes sense to me. And the little round ones on the bottom middle, those I consider, did I already mention I call them roundy moundies? So I put those in one category. And then on the top right there, those sometimes have round flowers, but they're starting to get more lateral and go up in, you know, vertical and have foliage sometimes. So I put those in another category. And that one I feel like goes in that category. The other category above the roundy moundies, I've got berries and more kind of interesting, you know, textural flowers. And then that bleeding heart that I just set down on the top right pile there, that would be awesome to print out even larger than I have it there and have it like arcing up over the whole arrangement. And that's what I intended, but my size was a little smaller to do what I envisioned, and I had already fussy cut it and X-Acto knife cut it and everything, so I went with it. But just wanted to tell you, you could blow it up even more and make it even more whimsical and, you know, like an arch over the whole arrangement, sort of framing it, you know, abstractly. So here, yeah, what is this one? Is it a roundy? No, I decided it's got foliage, so I put it up there. And then I've got some trailers up in the top left corner. That morning glory could go up, it could go down. Some have stems, and I usually put those like in the pile on the left there, and showing you here, print them out at different sizes. if you're using a printer and digitals, if you're fussy cutting from books and magazines, just do the same thing. Find all types of different sizes because you'll want that to play around with the scale when you start arranging. So I also wanted to just mention real quickly, if you're a gal or a fella that has a die cut machine and lots of dies and stuff like that, don't go out and buy this, unless you're like really drawn to this and this is going to bring you so much joy. But you don't need this, if you're not super drawn to it or you don't already have it. I'm just showing you if you do have it, you can do this as well. You can make all kinds of cool flowers out of your circle dies. You probably already own a bunch of flower dies and foliage dies. You can do the same type of, fun arrangement, flower arrangement with your dies and, cut a bunch of floral shaped ones. So yeah, and and you can make them more whimsical too, like these little lollipop flowers, like that. Layer them up, maybe with some buttons, some smaller hole punches, smaller flowers in the center, whatever you want. And then here I'm just showing you, you can add other things too, like I had found some shovels on the graphics fairy, some rabbits, some birds, and I just wanted them, and of course I had to have a black swan, and I just wanted to have them all ready in case I wanted to play around with them. So now you just want to move them all off your page and keep them in their little categories. So there are a lot of things that you can do to ground your images, but here's one quick and easy way, and I'm just using some ink here to just sort of create some earth. Just, the idea of some earth. And it's okay without it, no worries. But if you're interested in giving this look, this is just one way you can do it. And without it, it kind of looks like, to me, like, how did that urn get there? Did that just drop down from space? Where did that come from? No, I'm just kidding. But do you know what I mean? Without it, it just kind of looks like it's floating a little there. And with something like this, it just kind of looks like, oh, it's grounded. It's meant to be. That's where it belongs. But yeah, so now, also I put a little bit of ink on the bottom of the urn and leave a little bit of light, leave some white because it creates light and brightness on your object like the sun is hitting it there. If you wanted to be real technical, you would only do dark on one side of the urn and leave the other side alone, and then that would look like the sun is shining on the side you left alone and creating brightness and light, and the other side would look like it's a shadow, where the sun is not directed at. So here I had some magazine pages that I don't really have any interest on using them for fussy cutting. They just, to me, weren't things I'd want to cut out and use in my projects. So I'm going to not recycle, but reuse and use them as my glue page. And when I'm done, when the glue dries, I'll still stick them in the recycling bin. So I'm going to glue down the urn, and you can see right where it goes because of the ink, where it didn't deposit on the paper, and that's right where you will put it. So if you're new and you're just starting out, keep folding over those magazine pages or book pages or whatever it is that you're using to glue on, and don't put it back down if the glue is wet, because then it just sticks everywhere and becomes a mess. Yeah. So here I'm just squeegeeing out any glue all the way to the edges. You don't want to not have your edges glued down. The whole thing should be adhered to your paper. And if you have glue that does come out, have a little damp cloth at the ready and wipe it away so it does dry clear, but sometimes you can still kind of see it, so just wipe it away. And here I'm showing you if any of your corners don't quite stick down, just put some glue stick on like I just showed you and press them back down with a bone folder or your finger. Okay, so here we go. Get your photo back out, set it where you can see it, and we're going to start arranging and gluing down. So I'm going to start with the largest one in the front. Oh, I also wanted to mention I did ink all of the edges of the fussy cut flowers and foliage with that Distress Oxide rusty hinge right there. And use any color of your choice or whatever you have. And you don't have to do that, but it helps to hide the white on the cuttings and make that disappear. So here I'm starting with the one that's in, in the forefront because it's the biggest, largest, closest one to you. But it gets a little tricky. There's probably many ways to do this. I'm not claiming I'm any kind of expert at the way I glue it down. I just, this is what makes sense to me and what I do. So the thing you need to be careful of is not gluing something down completely where, oops, I wanted to put something underneath that behind it. And it can get tricky. So you just kind of take a look, think about it for a minute, see what's going on, and assess it. It's almost like a puzzle in a way. So when you're looking at your photo, what you want to do is choose the ones that can be glued down. And the way I do that is I start arranging it without gluing it down again. And once I reach a point where I feel that I can start gluing something down, I do. So if I glued the peony down, I wouldn't be able to get that pink ranunculus underneath it. So you just kind of look at your photo and think about all of this and glue in stages. And you'll see as we go through, but sometimes you want to just glue portions of the flower and not the whole thing. Since the peony is larger, that would be more in the foreground, and the ranunculus is smaller and it should be more in the background. But again, I didn't really do mine to scale, just a little bit now and then. But there's plenty of whimsy in there that's not to scale at all. So here, this leaf had like a angled cut on it that didn't look natural, so I'm just turning it into more of a leaf-shaped looking leaf. Because I couldn't get rid of it. I couldn't hide it, by gluing it down under something. So I just did that to solve my problem. Put a little ink on that fresh cut, and now it looks a little bit more natural. And I like that hanging off there. At this point, I probably could glue down portions of these flowers, but I just want to grab a few more things and be positive before I commit. But I'm still just looking at my photo and picking up the things and putting right where they go. Here I'm not, because I just wanted to show you an alternative. If you like more balanced, you can put one flower on the left and mirror it on the right. And but in this case, I wanted to group my foliage, so I've got both pieces of ivy on the right. But I just wanted to give you an option there in case you wanted to have a little bit more symmetry. And here, I think I'm going to put the ivy over the top of that other rose leaf because I feel like the ivy's more dainty and it would look prettier more in the foreground and sort of laying on top of that flower, of that leaf, the rose leaf. Looks really pretty like that. And I think in real life, if I was looking at it on my table, on my kitchen and enjoying it while eating lunch, I think that's how it would be. That's how I see it. So now I'm going to keep going, grab some others, and see when does it feel safe to glue things down. I just want to be sure. And, I know this because I've done this a bunch and made these learning mistakes where I'm getting an email. Sorry about that on my phone. But yeah, anyway, where I've glued something down and then I wanted it underneath a different flower and oopsie, had to peel it back up and that kind of thing. So I find that doing it this way until you're really positive what's going underneath and what's going on top, because when you're looking at the photo, it's a little complicated if you just try to do one and glue it down. You'll see what I mean if you give it a try. So at this point, I'm certain those flowers that I've put down so far are a go. But now, before I continue, I want to get in place the large arcing bleeding heart flower. I want to get that in place before I start continuing filling in above the peony and everything. So set that, and now I'm going to fill in. And the reason why I'm doing this is the type of arrangement, the feel I was going for was abundance, bountiful, tons of flowers in your face in the best, most magical, beautiful way. Here I was just kind of deciding, do I want this other flower? I think that's a camellia. Or do I want that hydrangea? And so I was kind of, you can change your mind, we've got the right to do so, from the photo. But yeah, I kind of check it out, and in the end, I still end up going with the hydrangea. I like it better. And what I like better about it is the color of the hydrangea, the shape, just the overall feel and emotion that it strikes within me. So I choose the hydrangea. But for a while, I do play around with the pink flower, the camellia flower there, and continue arranging. But I do switch back to that hydrangea in the end. You'll see. I just wanted to mention in case you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't match the photo. So here's that gorgeous anemone. Oh, I have some of these on my property, and they come out in late August and go into the autumn, and they're just such a wonderful, wonderful flower, and so pretty. They are not the type that spread, so that's really nice. They stick where you want them, and they're not invasive. But anyhow, so I keep filling in and keep matching, and kind of looking at the photo and matching it. And if I want to move things around a little bit differently than the photo, that's okay. And it's okay if you do too. But the photo is super helpful. I love the echinacea. Oh, that flower. They last forever in the garden. They're medicinal. What a wonderful nature's gift. So I grab this dahlia, put that behind the anemone, and then I'm thinking, I don't know, by using the camellia, I think that's a camellia, I feel like the hydrangea was bigger and filled out more space. So just keep picking up all your pieces and putting them down while letting the photo guide you how. But if you want to make any adjustments, you can. Once they're all down, I'll show you how to glue. So now we know that this piece here is going to go under that ranunculus and nothing else is going to affect it. So I'm starting with an easy one. And that's pretty much my process. I just continue to now look at what's in front of me and what can I now glue down without it affecting something, and I've gotten myself in a situation where I can't put something under it. So to me, the next piece would be the next piece of ivy, and still slipping that underneath that pink ranunculus. And then the next one above that to me would be that red berry, which is a rose hip. And next I went up and glued the bleeding heart down on the top. And now I'm ready to start filling in beneath the bleeding heart. I wanted to make sure I had enough space and did it properly. So that's how I chose to do it. And now I'm gluing down the blue flower, the morning glory, and making sure I fill in all the negative space there. And sometimes you glue portions and glue them down to the paper and leave other portions of that same flower, that same fussy cut, unglued so that you can slip other flowers underneath it. So we're almost done gluing, but sometimes it happens where they don't go down exactly like the photo. So I'm just had a little bit of a gap of negative space there right above the pink ranunculus, right by the rose hip there. And I just, with the rest of it being so like covered and full and abundant, that little space looked odd to me. So I thought I would cover it up with this gorgeous bluebird sitting there. He's perched on that ivy. Oh, look how pretty he is. He's attracting his mate. He's got his colors all bright. He's ready. I'm so lucky to have a pair of bluebirds that keep returning to me every season. And they've come back again and they're nesting here. I'm so, so lucky. I love watching them. The male is so protective. They take a huge role in sort of standing guard. It's really interesting to watch what they do. So I wanted to show you, don't get worried or discouraged if any of your fussy cuts that are more delicate like this one break in half. That little, stem piece that's connecting the bigger bottom to the top foliage is so thin and delicate. It's bound to happen, and if it does, no worries. Just glue it on as if it never happened and you can't even tell. And now, as I sat back and looked at it, on the bottom right, it just looked a little open there compared to the bottom left. And because I chose to do an over-the-top, really full, so abundant look, I felt like that one little space just needed the tiniest little bit of fill-in. So I took one of my other ivy pieces and cut off just one leaf with a little bit of a stem. And now with my pencil, I just marked where the stem should be cut so that it can join to the other ivy leaf that's already down and look like it was connected all along. So yeah, play with your color forms. No, I'm just kidding. They're not color forms. People must be like, what are you talking about? But if you know what I'm talking about, leave me a comment. Tell me I'm not alone. But seriously, no, you can fill in and don't be afraid to like cut apart your things and make them what you want them to be. Just, take some deep breaths, think outside of the box, and some really creative answers should start flowing to you. So I glued down the lovely little, cutest little bluebird trying to get his mate, and I wanted to make him look a little bit more grounded, like his feet just didn't really clutch, grip on to the ivy. So I just happen to have some brown scraps right here. See this? This is the true junk journaler, right? This is it right here. Use what you got. Use it up. Use your scraps. So no, I just thought, what do I have right near me? So I had this little brown scrap and I just kind of cut a few little slivers and then I'm so sorry about my head, and glued them down in like a little twig. I just cut 3 different little shapes and just kind of played around with how I'd put them down and made a little twig for the bird to sit on. And I wanted to let everybody know that I'm here for you. And what I mean by that is, if you have any questions or things you'd like to learn, things you'd like me to teach, I would just love to. Please just let me know in the comments and I'll get something together for you. If you're new and maybe you like my style of teaching, I'll put together a whole series of start to finish what junk journaling is, definitions of it, how to start, where to begin, my process, all of that. I would love to. But if it's not necessary, because there's others out there on YouTube, that's great too. But you never know. Sometimes people just connect with certain people. So now I'm going to add some ink around the edge, and I like to just free flow when I do this. I don't know what it is. I usually give a little bit extra in the corners. I feel like maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think it's a photograph or something. I don't know why I do this. But I always give a little extra in the corners just to sort of frame it, and then just go along the four sides. Quick and easy. Don't think about it too much. And if you'd like to, you can add a little black. I wouldn't do too much unless it's, something you really love. But just to give it that little bit of stand out. It really does make it stand out and pop. It's darker than the Rusty Hinge ink color I used in the beginning, and it just kind of sets that off and pops it out, the two of them together as a contrast. And when I was done, I realized I forgot to glue the bottom of that anemone flower down. So just add a little glue under there and then adhere that back down. Grab the trusty bone folder. Where are you? There you are. I love it. It's so, I just love it. So here's a close-up, a good look of what we made. Oh my gosh, so fun. I want this in my home. I don't ever want it to die. I want to look at it and sniff it every day. So here I just wanted to add a little bit of black to the back of the bluebird because I wanted to give it a line of demarcation, like separation and pop from that pink ranunculus. And I have this pointed dauber that did a great job of doing it. You could also do it with like a Stabilo pencil, or there's maybe like a black watercolor pencil, or even just a marker, a black marker. But yeah, see how that just popped out the bird and made him stand out in the foreground even more by adding that? Thank you so much. Give it a try and see you next time.